Hello, welcome to this edition of On the Legal Side, where everything in this program that we talk about is about the law, legalities of being in the security, public safety, and law enforcement industries. And today is no different. We've got a hot topic, abandoning your post and ghost billing. Abandoning your post and ghost billing. We want to thank our sponsors today, Body Armor USA. We've got what it takes to protect you, and there's no doubt about that. We have protective clothing, the best body armor around, slash-resistant vest. We have slash-resistant gloves. We have the body armor that is preferred by corrections officers, private security, law enforcement, and probation officers. Check us out today at Body Armor USA online, or give us a call Monday through Friday. We're here to help you, and we'll even advise you on what equipment is needed. BodyArmorUSA.com. We are so thankful to have sponsors wanting to be part of our network. Premier Training Academy in Charlotte, North Carolina, a premier private security and defensive tactics training school, not only in North Carolina, but in South Carolina, just over the line. Check them out today. Premier Training Academy online. Give our friend John a call. He will help you to either maintain current licensing or to get a security license in North Carolina or South Carolina. And they offer first aid, CPR, firearms training, and so much more. Premier Training Academy in Charlotte, North Carolina. And we want to welcome a new sponsor, MedTech USA. Hey, MedTech USA is a premier medical technician's office with paramedics and medical techs and nurses and nurse practitioners offering home health care in their regional Michigan, Ohio region. MedTech, check them out today and tell them that Private Officer International sent you their way. Let's delve right into the subject, into the heart of this week's episode. Let's start with abandoning your post. Now, this happens much more frequently than you might realize or might believe or might have even seen or experienced in your company or your employers. Listen, we all have issues. Let me be clear about that right now. We all have family issues, medical issues, money issues, personal issues. Mental health is really on the forefront. And yes, security officers do suffer from various mental health diseases. We're all under stress. We're all facing so many personal and business issues. And sometimes we can find ourselves on post, at the assignment, on patrol, on duty, and we're just having a rough day, a bad day at work, a bad day in life. And so what do? We hop in the vehicle and we say, screw it. I'm out of here. I don't give a flip about this job. It's not important to me right now. I can't take it. I'm out of here. And I can understand situations like that occurring. Been there myself. Seen it happen with my employees dozens and dozens of times. When we work shift work, when we're bouncing from this location to that location, these hours and those hours, and one day we're on first and the next day we're on second, and who's on third, and it can really eat away at you. Combined with problems at home, financial issues, and other things happening in our lives, yeah, it does get to you, and sometimes it gets to you while you're at work, especially if something has occurred or something is occurring at work, or maybe you didn't get that raise that you thought you were going to get, or maybe you got shortchanged in your paycheck this week, and so you don't care about the job, you don't care about the employer, you don't care about the business, you don't care about anything. You're just PO'd and you want out of there. I get it. It happens. There are many times when we get called by our loved one, by our children, our wife, our husband. We got a problem at home. A water pipe just busted. We got a problem at home. There's no heat and it's 20 degrees outside. Hey, we got a problem at home. Our little one is sick and we need to take them to the emergency room. Well, what's more important at that time, at that moment, right then and there? Work or family? I have no hesitation to call a supervisor and leave immediately. My family comes first. I'm sure your family comes first as well. But there's a liability and a responsibility and something that we really need to take into consideration even during these times when we're just, frustrated, spinning out of control, or we're just needing to get out of there because we have a family emergency. At that moment, no, we're not thinking about those things. We could care less. But there is great liability if you abandon the post without having someone come in to replace you. I've seen it through the years several times where the security officer left early, came in, and then shortly thereafter left. No explanation, no supervisory call, nobody notified, no word, nada. He just left. There was one case, probably about 15, 16 years ago, somewhere in there. It's been quite a while ago. But there was one case where he left a car dealership. And there was a fire, and it was sparked by something in the kitchen. I can't remember if it was the coffee pot. I think it was the coffee pot that burnt to the point where it caught the cabinet on fire, and the company was deemed to be liable, the employer, because had he been there on the job, on duty, he might have been able to prevent the fire. He probably would have. If he was making his patrols, his rounds, and was walking through the places where he's supposed to be going, I have to assume he would have smelt it. He would have seen it. He would have seen the smoke. He would have heard the smoke alarm, but he wasn't there. So the company did eventually have to pay that claim, and it was pretty substantial. Liability for the security officer is just as high as it is for the employer. I don't care about all that. You're not going to get nothing from me. I ain't got nothing. You ain't going to get nothing. Forget about it. And sometimes that's the attitude, and sometimes that's understandable that they would feel that way. But in these civil liability cases, they can go on forever. And when we come back from this break, we'll talk a little bit more about that, as well as ghost billing. But when we're having situations like this, it is important, especially these days, everybody's got a cell phone. Jump in your car. You got a family emergency, and you can't wait. I understand that you don't care if you're going to lose your job. Jump in the car, hit that manager up, hit the supervisor up. Hey, Bill, man, I got to go, man. I got to leave. I'm sorry. My kid's got a high fever, 103, burning up, got to go to the ER. Let somebody know. Hey, George. Hey, this is Scott, man. My wife just had a bad wreck, and I got to meet the ambulance in the emergency room. I don't know how bad she is, but as soon as I can figure things out, I'll come back to the post. I'll come back to the job site if I can. But, man, you're going to need to get somebody over there because this is really, really an emergency. As an employer, I get it. I understand it. At least you call to let me know. Then it's on me. You see, what you're doing is you're putting that burden on me. We'll be right back after this message.
Nurse, I need you to apply pressure to the head wound until I can get to it. I'm concerned she's lost too much blood.
Oh, no.
You in the corner, who are you? You're not supposed to be here.
She's my girlfriend, Doctor.
You need to wait out in the waiting room.
Please, Doctor, I want to stay with her.
Look, she's been badly injured. So if you want to do what's best for her, you need to let us do our work.
Please, Doctor, she has to be okay. I didn't mean to do this. I love her.
Wait a second. You were the driver?
Yes, but I didn't mean to. I swear, we went to dinner. I was just buzzed. I only had a few drinks.
Just buzzed? Why didn't you tell us that? In that case, your girlfriend is fine.
Hey, sweetie. I feel great. You want to get out of here?
I can't believe this. Really, Doctor? She's really okay?
What, are you kidding? No, not really. Nurse, get me a suture kit. Stat.
Buzzed driving. Maybe we should stop acting like it's no big deal. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, the Ad Council, and this state.
For some children, America isn't the land of promise. It's a place where every day is a struggle. Because today, in America, 1 in 6 children lives below the poverty line. For these children, living in poverty means going without medicine, going without food, going without a warm home, or even a roof over your head. And that's life for nearly 13 million children of all races, all across America. Where will you draw the line and get involved? You can help these children and their families find a way out of poverty for good. And you can make a difference in more ways than you think. Will you help? Go to povertyusa.org today. Because 1 in 6 children in poverty is one too many. A message from the Catholic Campaign for Human Development.
All right, welcome back to this edition of On the Legal Side. We're talking about abandoning our assignment, our workplace, our post, wherever it is that we're working, as well as talking about ghost billing. Now, we were talking before the break about emergencies. They do happen, about being stressed out. That happens as well. All of it is understandable and forgivable if it's handled properly. You can't just leave where you're working, no matter what the situation, and not notify someone. If anything were to happen, a break-in, a fire, a catastrophe, and the security officer assigned to that location was nowhere in sight, not on the property, that person, that individual security officer, as well as his company and their insurance carrier, would be held liable. What if you left an occupied building that had employees of the company there and someone was to be hurt or they were to be robbed? Imagine the amount of liability that you are assuming automatically just because you left. You've been employed to protect that property in all shapes, fashions, and manners, everything from fire hazards, from break-ins, from other catastrophes. You are the person that they are relying on during that time period. And just because you're having a bad week, a bad day, your girlfriend broke up with you, your wife has moved out, your dog was hit by a car, of course, all of that is serious business, and I get it. We get it. Employers get that. The only thing that they're asking you to do is please don't leave before you notify your supervisor. Give it to them. Give it to them. In church, there's a saying, give it to God. God will handle it. Well, when you're a employee, you have to give it to your employer. Don't take the burden. Don't carry the weight. Don't be, held responsible when something happens. Give it to your boss, your employer. All that you have to do to alleviate that liability, to alleviate that weight off your shoulder, is pick up the phone and make a 2-minute call. You could even text them and say, hey, Bubba, I got to go, man. My kid is really sick. I got to go, man. My husband just had a car accident. It sounds bad. I got to see what's happening. And make a note someplace in your report. I had a family emergency. I called George, got a hold of him. He said, yeah, go on about your business, and I'll get someone right over there. That alleviates your liability and also puts you in a position where you have documentation. Should something come up later that, hey, he didn't call me, he didn't tell me, I didn't. Save your text message. Save that call in your call history, in your call log, because that could all be necessary for evidence later down the road. You might have a great employer, a great boss, extremely understanding, and he says, yeah, no problem, I got it. I'm going to handle it for you. Take care of business at home. And then you might have a boss who doesn't really care. All he cares about is his client, which is good. I mean, the client has to be top priority as well. And all that he's thinking about is, man, if you leave, I'm telling you right now, if you leave, I'm telling you right now what's going to happen. Now, you have to do what you have to do. I prefer, of course, that you at least call, text, notify someone up the chain that there's an emergency so that we have a chance to bring someone else in place of you and to fulfill our legal obligations, our contract, and to alleviate possible liability later on down the road. Did you know that we could be sued just because the employee left the property? There doesn't have to be any damage. There doesn't have to be any fire, no robbery, no break-ins, no vandalism. It doesn't have to be anything at all. All that you got to do is leave that contract unmanned for 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 shift, 1 day. It doesn't matter. That's a breach of contract, and that in itself could cause the employer and possibly the employee to be sued. You broke the contract the minute you walked off the property. We've had this happen time and time again. The employee leaves the apartment complex, leaves the hotel, leaves the business because they're hungry. Now, they're not supposed to leave, but they jump in their vehicle, they go on down the road, and, that's, you have abandoned your post. I don't care if your employer told you it was okay or not okay. You still broke the contract at that point by leaving it wide open. The only, possible exception is that you have it written in the contract that my employees will take a 30-minute break, yada, yada, yada. They'll be off the property. They'll be able to go to the store. And as long as it's written in the contract, then you're fine. But most places, that's unacceptable, and they're not going to agree to those terms because anything could happen while you're on a break, while you're on lunch, while you're on dinner. And that's why they don't want you to leave the property. Bring your dinner, bring your lunch, stay on property. I know California is different. California has a rule, where you have to allow people working those 6 to 8 hours, lunch, breaks, so forth. If you don't have somebody to relieve them during that time, and you allow that employee off the property, and it's written in the contract, it's all good. It's all legal. If you don't allow your employee in California to take lunch or a break, then you're violating the law, and the employer could be in some serious trouble and pay some pretty big fines from what I understand. But that's just California. In most states, working in security since I was 17, and then when I came back from the Army, I began security again until I got into law enforcement. We never left the property, and we never got a lunch break, and we never got a break of any type. We brought a sandwich. We brought, something. And luckily, a few times, there were some food trucks. And there was one of them called Papa Joe's. Great pizza. It was all hot and fresh. And they would drive up and down streets that had a lot of businesses, and they would sell out the back of their food truck. And it was good. But you didn't get that opportunity very often. So you have to bring a cold sandwich or something left over from the night before and hope that you're able to gobble it down. So liability is an issue when you leave that employer, that client's property vacant for any amount of time. Minutes, hours, it doesn't matter. So too is it a criminal offense, as well as a violation, of course, of your contract, if you bill the client for time that there was no officer on the property. And this happens daily, and I mean daily. Everybody from the major players of the security industry to the mom and pops all have played this game at one point or the other. You send the client an invoice for hours that you know nobody was there, hoping they didn't know. They don't know. Nobody knows? All good, right? And so you bill these clients for hours that they did not have service, that you didn't provide service. And that is a criminal offense. Fraud, theft by deception, and other states have other language in their state statutes that cover ghost billing. The same is true when a security officer leaves the property, and because they have a lackadaisical employer who's not out spot checking, who has no supervisors checking officers during the overnight hours, especially weekends, holidays, nobody knows but the security officer that he wasn't there. He came in for a while. You know what? It was cold out. He wanted to go be warm. It was hot out. He wanted to be cool. His friends are out partying at the club. He wanted to go to the club. So he just left the property. He said, nobody's going to know it. Nobody's going to figure it out. I'm going to get paid anyway. So he does. He puts in his timesheet. And he says, I'm here, even though he wasn't. That's why many companies have gone to those digital wands and other checkpoint apparatus where you have to physically swipe it, physically be there. I know there's a company out there that has and there's several actually, that has an app for your phone. You have to swipe those access points with your phone, and it automatically transmits that to their database, to their system, and they know if you were there or not because they're tracking your phone's GPS. Pretty smooth, but not for people who want to be dishonest, not for people who want to work. Whether you're an employee or an employer, fudging the hours, fudging the numbers, and billing or getting paid for work not done is dishonest, unethical, and it is a problem in the security industry. I just did a course not long ago for private investigators in Virginia. And we, again, have the same problem with PIs who bill for hours that they didn't really work. They bill for 100 hours of investigation, but they did 30 hours of work. Oh, I did this, I did that, I researched there, I spent this amount of time on a computer, kind of like an attorney. An attorney bills you per hour, hours that they put in. Who knows how many hours they actually put in? You have to just believe their word. You have to believe that their billable hours are true at $200 an hour or more. I always have them send me a detailed bill, but guess what? They can fake that as well. Yeah, at August the 10th, from 8 a.m. until 10 a.m., I wrote a letter to blah, blah, blah in behalf of XYZ. You don't know. And the same thing with security. Security, unless they have a really tight supervisory system, even when you have a key fob, some type of swipe card or any other mechanism to report where you are on duty, even that can be tricked. There are some tricks to the trade. I don't want to tell you them, how it all works, but I know that they're not infallible. I know that they're not perfect. I remember the D-Tex clock, and some of you older guys probably do as well, guys and women, of course. Security officers would pull the keys off the wall, the little key big key actually, that you cranked that D-Tex clock that made a little imprint on the tape that showed when you made that patrol. Well, they would pull those things off the wall. They'd bring them down to the office, and they'd sleep for an hour or two, and then take those keys from the desk, and they would just key it into the D-Tex and make that little mark in the tape. And everyone thought, oh, yeah, he made his patrol. And then before he left, or she left in the morning, they'd hang them back up where they're supposed to be. Only problem with that is those keys also had numbers in them. It would identify the station, the location where they were hung. And they would hang them up at the wrong places. So as an owner or a supervisor, you could come in, walk through the patrol, check each one of those keys to see if they're where they're supposed to be, and oftentimes they were not. They were all mixed up, and that's how you know they were being pulled off the wall and brought into the office or the vehicle. Anyone can bypass the system. Every lock can be bypassed, can be broken into. You know what they say? Locks are made for the honest people, not for the criminals. Unfortunately, in our industry, it's easy to pull the wool over the client's eyes and the employer's eyes. Be ethical. Understand that this is serious business. This isn't a game. We're talking about life and death. You're not there. Somebody could get hurt. Somebody could get killed. Someone could their life could be dependent upon you being there at the right time, the right place, the right moment. Take the job serious. Emergencies happen. Family issues happen. Stress happens. Problems are part of our life. Do the right thing. Make the call. Get a supervisor, a manager, or a company owner on the phone and tell them, I've got to leave. I've got an emergency. Don't chance what might happen to you in the court system. Don't chance a lawsuit. Don't chance a judgment. Don't chance not being able to get a job because you're going to have a bad reference from your employer. Not only that, but you could even wind up in the newspaper if something happens at that location when you, the security officer that was supposed to be on duty, isn't there. That's going to conclude this issue of On the Legal Side. Thanks for listening. Be sure to join us Monday for the Private Officer Beat Radio right here, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Until the next time, be